The topic is system innovation, open innovation and eco-innovation. I'm pulling this together and I just want to give you some references, some explanations, but especially I made these slides for you to check when you need them later. This lesson is a bit more abstract, but I tried to make it more visual so that you can remember the main points. And I'm trying to make it shorter than the previous one, at least. Anyway, if you don't understand the half of it, it's okay. You send me your questions, and then do also your homework. And you should also know that most scientists also don't understand about half of it because it's still in work in progress research. So there we are. First, let's remember the point about our new social contract for science and scientists. This means that we need to use science to create new solutions in society. And that is big. The main concepts that I want to present to you here are related to sustainability institutions and to the process of innovation, and especially open innovation. I will explain what that means in a second. But the main point is that this new social contract for science and scientists involves a lot of interaction between the public and the citizens. These are the two green boxes. This is what new social contract means. It's like, to put it in prosaic terms, as a citizen, if you pay me to do science, I have to be accountable to you. And I need to prioritize what I do so that what I do is relevant to what you need. There are very long-term issues too of theoretical science. This also needs to be done, but still this has to be explained and made accountable. Then when we talk about open innovation, here we are on the terrain of industry a lot, and the interaction of these industries with the democratic rule makers, which is the state and the state agencies. And this is about funding and business and so on. Open innovation, it means that it needs to undergo a process of transition as well from business model or type of models based on secrets and technologies that nobody else has, and from building walls all around me to protect all the secrets, to a different logic of interaction, of exchange and negotiation between what I can give you so that you can create more value with what you have, and what you can give me to create more value with what I have. So like this we are both better, and we better collaborate in this world of ours that is very interactive, globalized, and having a common problem. So that's about our new social contract for science and scientists. But the main problem that we face and which we address in these lectures is the problem of the management gaps that exist between knowledge and information and knowledge and action. That means that we have a lot of technology and science done, and laboratory work, which provide us with a lot of data, which is then interpreted into information. But between information and knowledge, there is a gap. I think we've already hinted to what causes this gap. Knowledge means that I know what to do, right? I know what is going on and what to do. But how can I know if the science is giving me something that is not coherent internally? So this division between disciplines is the initial and the first, but not the only problem between information and knowledge. And then there's the problem of how you transform what you know into viable action. And that is another gap. I might have the knowledge, but if I'm not the one taking action, well, there is a problem. So that is the problem that we are addressing briefly. Open innovation attempts to overcome these issues, and it means that you have problems and data, you bring together industry and science, you do the mix, you do the reconfiguration of knowledge, and then you create some tools, go through that process until you obtain a process. This involves a lot of unknowns, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of experimentation and failure and demonstration and so on. It's a hard travel to make, and a lot of dynamics in the network of actors and organizations. So you need to develop new approaches and methods. So that's the point of open innovation. That's actually a famous diagram from open innovation which I adapted here. It looks abstract. It is, necessarily so, but it's also real. So I have to remember this all the time. How things are done in practice. Now, because here we are in a university, and I've been involved myself too in this kind of interactions, and I still am involved. The way that things happen with innovation can be described by this diagram that you see on your left-hand side. You have two sources of money. There's the public funding, which is the typical source of funding for researchers and universities and research institutions. And then you have the private funding, which comes from sales on the market of the products. But between the knowledge on the left, produced by universities, and the products on the right, sold by the company, you have a big gap. And the innovation process has to cross this gap. This gap is called Valley of Death. That's because it's like a valley, basically, between the two lines that you see, blue and reddish or pink. It's how much money you have. The more you go away from universities and into the real world of business, the less you have money from the public logic. But and the less you go away from the market to the public domain, you have less and less money from the public budgets, of course. But the problem is that somewhere in the middle, there is a place where there is not enough money from neither direction. And that's the Valley of Death. That's where most startups fail. Most of investments into new ventures start a bit after the Valley of Death. So it's hard to deal with this. It's a big management issue in innovation systems, but this is how it is. How this gap can be bridged is through different types of collaborations. And here I show some examples. For example, you have private investments in universities. And for example, in our region here, the Paris region, we have a lot of examples, like in many other big cities in Europe and around the world, where you have companies investing into a research chair or institute. So it puts money to focus on a certain topic. That's one type of investment in research, because they understand the value of research in innovation. Research is not enough for innovation, but it starts with it. Then you have university spin-offs. That means that you have some people that have done their studies or research in universities. They have discovered some processes, developed some technologies, and now they want to build some products on that. So they venture themselves into the business world and set up some startups. These are the so-called university spin-offs, because they originated in university. You can also have spin-offs of companies, and they can be established by big companies just to stimulate innovation, because it's easier to make innovation in smaller organizations like a startup than the big organizations. So it's a sort of satellite company, for that bigger company. And also you have different types of public-private partnerships, the 3P, the famous PPP, where you have large networks or institutes of all kind that struggle with different approaches to bring together the two sides, public and private. Now, if you look on the bottom, you see laboratory research, arrow, commercial success. So that is the way that a technology or a company or an idea has to go to success, from idea to market. Then on the right, you see a bit the different stages, 4 stages here: seed, young company, growing company, and mature company, and different boxes representing types of funding and where they occur. Here highlighted is venture capital and this particular graph, but the point is to show that different types of funding are specialized for different ages of the company. I let you study this yourself. I'm not going to make it too long, but another point that I want to make is the more you grow and bigger you are, the less vulnerable you are, but the less innovative you are as well. So when you actually look at this diagram and you imagine different companies fitting in different categories, you're actually representing to yourself an innovation ecosystem. And it spans all the way from universities to the market.